That's what I got. That's a Wookie noise. Show us the mouse droid. They're screaming for the mouse droid. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, and welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. I just did that live.
It's true. As advertised.
As advertised. Same as before, but not the same as it was yesterday. Today we're painting up Chewbacca. He's a Wookie. There's a great song about that. Should we do regular brown for Chewbacca, or should we do like a different fur Chewbacca? Like albino?
Ooh.
Or gray, or
like old man Baca?
Old man Baca.
Chat, what do you think?
Old man Baca. All right, let's do it. Let's kick it to the minicam. Side Real Secrets saying, yes, real Chewy, give us masterclass. And I don't know about masterclass. Like, let's calm down here. I'm just a silly boy painting miniatures. Making Wookie noises.
Oh, but you can show them the mouse droid, right?
It's on there.
Oh, yeah.
Look at it skitting away.
Look how small it is compared to this big boy.
I'm expecting to see mouse droids everywhere. Because I think it's an adorable little thing. Let's see. All right, so I've got black brown out. Let's start with that. So we're gonna do a layer of black brown. We're gonna do Chewbacca. We're gonna do a layer of black brown. Wonderful little chocolatey color from our friends over at Pro Acryl Monument Hobbies. We're gonna do a nice little layer on this. Oh, we can't talk about things we haven't announced. Those are secret things. The secrets behind our eyes that are windows to the soul.
We do have timelines and stuff from the mini Strav announcements up on the event page still. So if you're curious about what's been announced that's coming down the pipeline with an estimate of when we expect it to get announced and go up for pre-orders and whatnot, you can check that out on our website.
A whole list and calendar of wonderful things coming up and upcoming.
It's not exhaustive, so that doesn't mean that is all there will ever be, but it is a pretty significant chunk of expectations. So.
Yeah, we put secrets in there.
Yeah, sometimes we want to save stuff.
I would like a mouse droid upgrade for my gonk. Use it as a mini bot to block someone else's. Oh, that's hilarious for gonk racing. I love it. Pagani, put that in the notes. Mouse droid upgrade. Like, so the gonk deploys the mouse droid, and the mouse droid like shoots forward, and can be used as a body blocker for gonk racing. I love it. I also just like the idea of like the gonk has like a deployment compartment that like opens, and the little mouse droid just zips out, and it's like a little garage for the mouse droid inside the gonk droid. This paint is super wet. It's gonna take 1,000,000 years to dry. We might have to use that hairdryer today. And that'd be a travesty. But the feeling won't be gone, and we can't go on, even though it was a travesty. I know it's not the right word. That's not the point. Having a very oblique style of comedy. Oh, it has a Hot Wheels track ramp. Oh yeah, the little hatch opens up on the top of the gonk, and then like a little ramp goes and then the little mouse road just and just shoots right out the top of the head of the gonk. I love it. We need to let that dry, so we're going to move to the let's move to the leathers. We're going to use a little warm brown. A much smaller brush. Hairy, wet Wookie needs one of those pet salon hair dryers. Oh yeah, I can just imagine a Chewbacca in one of those like old-timey 1950s beauty parlor hair dryers, like you always see in the 1950s movies, and like the clear dome that just goes over the top of the noggin. He's getting his perm, getting his hair did. That's what my granny always said. I got my hair did. Spike, what is up? How's it going? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the chat. We're painting Wookiees today. There's nothing wrong with that. Because it's just a Wookie. A Chewbacca Wookie. He's going to get painted up in just 1 hour. I think. Hopefully. Probably. Could be. We'll see. All the little spots in between the metal bits. It doesn't matter if I get like a little paint on the metal bits. I gotta go back and paint them anyway, so like a little splitter splatter don't matter. There you go. A little splitter splatter don't matter. Put it on a sticker, Ann.
Little splatter, don't matter.
Little splatter don't matter.
Maybe we should make Dallasism stickers for our cons and stuff. That might be a fun little handout you could have.
Well, painterific stickers. Little splitter splatter don't matter. Chewbacca. There's a Wookie. All right, we need a little golden color, a nice little golden tan. Do I want to use yellow ochre? I think a little yellow ochre and warm brown. Oh, we used the warm brown. That's on the leather, so we don't want to use the same one. Oh, golden yellow. Which one do I like more? Let's go with golden yellow. We want medium brown too, so light umber. We're going to play with a bunch of colors today. I'm going to have to blow dry real quick. One quick blow dry. Are you ready, Ann? Ready. 3. Yes. All right. Now we're ready to paint. So we got our dark layer brown on. Now we're going to start doing the lighter layers. We're going to slowly build this up. We're going to use a little umber and that ochre. We're just going to pick some spots. We're just going to follow the shape of the sculpted hair on the miniature. Start etching in some lines. I'm just letting the brush do the work here, right? As we always do, the brush wants to do its job. It's trying its hardest. The brush is your friend. Chewie does have a lot of. It's when you really look at Chewbacca, he has a lot of interesting colors. There's a lot of ochres and there's some redness, but there's also a lot of black and grays on him. So you really got to like look at the reference if you're trying to really match it, because there's a lot of very visually interesting things happening on Chewbacca that may not be in the front of your head, especially, for many of us, collecting the action figures when we were kids. The action figures are typically painted in like, one or two colors, so that can like mess with your memory. And then the films are lit in a very particular way. So you really gotta look and see what's going on with Chewbacca to sometimes see some of the interesting, intricate colors that resides in his fur. And that's, part of our job is we really look at a lot of reference and how to translate that to miniature, right? Because like the rules for just straight up painting something or painting it for miniatures changes. So we were always looking at how to interpret these characters into miniatures and exaggerate what needs to be exaggerated and play down what needs to be played down just because of scale, right? Welcome, Zargle. So we're just gonna lay this on. Depending on how fast I can do this first layer will depend on how much of the whole body we focus on today. You can see how just easy this is, right? I'm just not touching the darkest points in the recesses and letting little lines of that dark shine through. Just letting my brush do the work. Little curve there. Little awkward placement just because of the gimbal. Gimbal, you're in my way today. So I didn't get enough dark brown in that crevice, so we'll have to pick that up. We'll just keep going. This is I wouldn't say time consuming part. I mean, it's definitely probably more time consuming for you that you're watching, right? And it's like kind of the same thing. You got, Chewbacca is, basically one element, right? All you have to do is paint fur, right? He doesn't have a bunch of accoutrements. He doesn't have like a ton of little funky doodads and whoozits and boffers and biffers and things like that all over him. So your focus is the fur. So you're going to spend some time on there. Making sure to get it right, because it's literally the only thing you have to paint. And, the bandolier, of course. That's easy. Y'all got that part down pat. More brown and ochre. I don't think I have an answer to the Speedle question. It's much outside of my purview. So the best way to find out is pay attention to our socials. Twitter and or Instagram. It's where we post anything like that, any upcoming information, when it's time to share it. Sometimes the information is just not quite ready to share. Sometimes there's no information to share. Who knows? In this case, I don't know. So I'm pretty sure his thighs are much darker. I actually stole the studio one for reference. Walking carpets are much trickier to paint than you thought. I don't think that these are. I personally don't find Wookiees that tricky. It's kind of relaxing to just sort of trance out. Like, you know, if I had some music playing or a movie in the background, I would be just kind of zoning out and just, you know, doing these little scritchers and getting my Wookie painted. It'd be real relaxing. Nice little quiet evening with maybe some hot tea. And paint up my Wookie. Put my favorite scary movie on in the back or something. Just sort of scratchy up my Wookie. Right, and this can be pretty messy. I always like these undercoats a little messy. Okay, I want to build up some of that rosy redness, right? So I'm gonna add some of that warm brown to our mix. Some more yellow, ochre. Because I also want this to be slightly lighter. That'll be my plan for Werewolf by Night. Oh yeah, when I go to paint Werewolf by Night, like I think I already know what movie I'm putting on and going to paint up a werewolf. Werewolf, their wolf. Thanks, Mini Extravaganza was fantastic. Hey, glad you think so. We thought so. We had a lot of fun. Our highlights for sure are everything about Rogue One. That's going to be a fan favorite for sure. And not forget the key operations. Putting them out for community for print and play is much appreciated. We do what we can. We do what we can. We're always trying our best to provide awesome content for the community and get some cool stuff out there for everybody to enjoy and try. So when somebody's like, hey, I really appreciate this, we always like to say, hey, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. Through your continued support, this station can continue to provide the entertainment and education you need. Oh, I should have joined public radio in my youth. I think I would have loved that. Fun fact, Anne, you didn't know this. I actually have done a couple radio shows.
Is that so? I didn't know that.
That's true.
Were you like, was it music? Was it, what was your...
Yeah, I had friends who worked in a couple different radio stations, and a couple times I got to go on and DJ for a few hours.
Fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. I got to take requests once.
How did that go?
My shtick is I don't do your request. That was my shtick.
Thanks for calling in. No.
Oh, what song do you like to hear? I'd like to hear that new song by, Deaf Radio Jammers. And I'm like, oh, that one? That's a great song. And then just play something totally different, right? That was my shtick. Was that a little mean? It was a little mean, but it was funny. People got a kick out of it. What can I say? Oh, the castle? Yeah, the castle to go along with the monsters. I may be working on one right now for maybe some hobby content, so wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Enough said. Don't want to give away too many secrets. Chewbacca! Yeah, I really like the castle, but today we're painting a Wookie. You got plenty of Wookiees to paint too in Shatterpoint, right? How many Chewbaccas? 2 Chewbaccas?
2. Chewbacca.
Chewbacca. Not to be confused with Tubebacca. That's a different thing altogether.
It's a different thing.
So we're going pretty fast, right? This is pretty loosey-goosey. We're not... His hair is much darker, so we're going to darken that later. I just wanted to get so I'm building in all these little scritchy fur lines, and then in the darker places we'll glaze. And what that'll do is it'll leave those fur texture slightly exposed while darkening it all. That's going to give it a really nice look. Come on, chat. What kind of questions you got? Nothing that'll get me in trouble, though.
So obviously we have this Chewie and we have the other one from Real Quiet Like. And they're 2 different moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was it about this sort of A New Hope moment that you wanted to capture with the pose?
So, yeah, the Real Quiet Like, it's funny because, like, we kind of composed that one. And Chewbacca's definitely not being very quiet-like in that one. Like, it's kind of funny, right? You got those commandos, they're sneaking, scooting, and Chewie's already ripping something apart. And I think it's just a fun little story, right? And this one, I think, definitely Preston did the concept poses for these, and he really keyed in for some reason on the scene with the mouse droid. And so, like, it's sort of that whole moment where Chewie kind of chases off that mouse droid. Was just sort of a fun little, like, sort of storytelling element when you look at the rest of the squad, you can definitely see how that squad come together, right? Han is like chasing the stormtroopers around the corner, and then he's running back. Luke is looking very heroic. Sort of, I always imagine like it's sort of like that moment before, like he does the grapple, right? Yeah. And does the big swing with Princess Leia. Like that's definitely like what I always imagine is like that moment right before the big grapple. When I look at, I need some of that beautiful warm yellow. I think no. What color do I want?
Yeah, there really is a lot of running down hallways in A New Hope.
In New Hope, yeah.
It's easy to shoot.
It's
on a budget.
Scamper, scamper. Nope. Scamper, scamper. Back the other way. I think there's orange oxide. Orange oxide's out. Need that one. So any thought points or ability bounce coming? There's A&G still collecting data for list performance. The feeling locally is that Inferno Squad is dominating the list building, either by coming or even the threat of them, so you counter build against them automatically. Interesting. I don't have that any of that information. I would be curious to hear what Pagani says about that squad. I have a feeling it'd be like, yeah, that's because they're sleeping on this squad. They're missing this squad. Which is a totally different, unrelated squad.
The other aspect is, GTs are still relatively new in terms of including events for Shatterpoint. So people are always paying attention to how that is going. But, we're still at the outset, I would say, of data collection on how the first round of those are being received.
Yeah, if you watch the main drive, Dev goes into data collection quite a bit, and the conversations are recently around our other games and stuff like that. Like it's always an ongoing, like we're looking at stuff. So when I don't know, and where is it at? I wouldn't know.
What we can say is that when there is a need for something to happen, the timing is always important as far as not just making knee-jerk reactions to things. And so even if they have an opinion that Dallas or I are not aware of necessarily yet, that's been fully formed into action, they'll wait until they're sure of what, like as sure as they can be of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think there's still plenty of information to be grokked.
Yeah.
Don't fret. Just another layer of fur. No big deal here. MBD. Yeah, I think a lot of it, as Argo, I agree. Like a lot of times, it's like everybody's playing this. Well, yeah, it's the new thing, and they're excited about the new thing, and it really has nothing to do with power, right? It's a new toy to try. It's a new piece of the puzzle to grok, and heck, I'm guilty of it. I get the new toy and I'm like, I'm gonna play this forever, right? And then the next new toy comes out, and that I think that's something to always be mindful of, and it's a lot of why our dev team is so awesome. Is like they don't just react to everything, right? It's like there's so many reasons why something can be hot, right? Maybe it's just the character's super cool. Maybe maybe it's just the new super thing. Maybe it's tapping, like Fire Spew was saying, right? Like maybe there's just something that unlocks that just makes it more interesting to try something else and try another thing and try another thing, right? And it's part of the ever-growing puzzle of games, and that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Yeah, and you not knowing how to deal with it, that's a big deal, right, Zara? Is like, I see stuff on the table and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then, and my opponent doesn't explain, right? Or more likely I'm just like, I don't care, let's just play anyways, right? I don't even ask. And then like, it's like, oh, that did that thing and I wasn't ready for it. It does something different. It asked a different question. It's not necessarily a power level. It's just there was a new question being asked that I've never been asked before, right? It's like, man on the street, you're walking along and the interviewer comes up and asks you a question you've not prepared for. And, well, I don't know what I think. Like, miniature games can do that quite effectively. And a good miniature game should be doing that quite effectively, quite often, frankly, in my opinion. As like asking a bunch of really cool questions about how you think about approaching the game, right? If something new comes in and blows you out, right? Not only do you need to be asking like, well, what question did that ask me? But also, why did I have such a rigid plan where I couldn't adapt to what was happening on the battlefield, right? Sometimes it's not just what the opponent's doing, but it's also what you are doing. A good general is ready for anything and ready to adapt. I'm not a turn zero person myself. As the kids talk, as the lingo goes, because I don't have a plan. I have goals. And I try to adapt and stay limber throughout the experience and listen to the questions my opponent is asking and the train is asking, because you never know what the question the train's going to ask either, right? The train is going to be asking weird questions, especially like in a tournament setting. You go from one table to another, and those questions are changing constantly. So I'm ready to just listen to the question and try to adapt. But that's just the way I play.
And also, sometimes it just takes a couple of times to learn.
Yeah, you can
those
learn
questions.
Yeah,
right?
you can learn those questions very quickly, right?
Yeah. And there's no there's no shame in needing to like take some time to think about stuff. I think sometimes as gamers we become so obsessed with like needing to feel like we have a complete and full and total understanding of things that it can knock you off center when you're like, I didn't realize that was going to happen to me, or I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to handle that, so sometimes it just takes people a little bit of time and experimentation.
Gotta experiment, gotta try stuff out and let things happen and let it play out and see where it goes and live in the moment, ride the spiral to the end. Yeah, I think there's lots of different ways to paint things like Wookiees or other incredibly furry beasts. This is my way. And as per usual, I like to try to teach people how to paint, not what to paint. So like if this doesn't work for you, don't do it. But my hope is that there might be like a little nugget, right? That you're like, oh, I like the way you're thinking there. And you can put that little bit in your tool belt. And then as you're painting something, you go, oh, that little nugget, that little bit. Let's take that out and let's try it. Let's do my version of that, right? I mean, everything I paint is just my version of what I've learned from somebody else. Creating new techniques, brand new, never before seen techniques is, I'm not going to say impossible, but super rare. Humans as a species been art in a long time. So coming up with something brand new is not my goal. But taking lessons of the past and putting my spin on it, that's important to me. And then hopefully pass some stuff to you that you can put your spin on and you can pass down. And in like 200 years, miniature painting is America's hobby, right? It's America's hobby. What? Why is that funny? It's America's hobby.
I'm Dallas Kemp, and I approve this message.
Yeah, look, someday it might be an Olympic sport. You don't know. Teach it in schools.
Getting the variation in the fur while also being aware of your like classic need for shadow and light and to create shape is such an interesting part of, I feel like, this challenge here, because not only are you putting light on the high points and dark in the recesses, but you're also trying to show the variation of all the different colors present. And that doesn't mean, I don't know, have you ever struggled with that too much gene, right? Where you're like, I'm just going to keep doing this. And then suddenly you're like, I've done it everywhere and now nothing matters.
Yeah. So, I've talked about my sensei, my ancient mystic sensei of miniature painting, Ron Cruzy, used to tell me I had what was he called it my shadow demon. And I had a very bad tendency. Oh, also, look at this. Can you see my paintbrush?
Yeah.
Okay. Look how bad that is, right? I pushed it flat and I got like 20 bristles. That's like a tattoo gun now, right? For fur. I'm going to paint so many bristles at the same time right now. I'm going to get 4 or 5 lines out of this instead of one. And that is magic. Okay. So Cruzy always said I had he called it my shadow demon, because I had a tendency to let the shadows overtake my piece, which of course you don't want to do. And I kind of had the opposite, where I didn't blow it out. I didn't like add so many highlights that nothing was shadowed. I shadowed everything and I lost my highlights almost. So I learned how to weaponize my shadow demon, right? How to like be in control of it and unleash it when I need to, right? And that's all learning technique is, right? It's like learning how to do something and then learning how to like not use it, right? And learn when to use it, right? Danielson didn't start with the crane kick. He didn't want a crane kick. Voltron doesn't start with blazing sword, right? Voltron's like, I'm trying to do it this way and be nice. And then it's like, well, that's not working. Form blazing sword, win. Like, it's sort of the same thing. So yeah, I mean, like every painter, anything that somebody struggled with, I've probably struggled with as well. And that's just part of learning, right? I've got more mistakes in my background than, some people have starts. Classic saying, right? I failed more times than you've tried. But that's part of painting every single day, right? Like it's not, I'm not trying to sound braggadocious. It's just I paint almost every day. And when I was learning how to paint to a level that somebody would pay me to do it, like I definitely painted every single day and probably for more hours than I probably should have. Probably too far. So yeah, right now I'm really focusing on where the light is, right? The light's coming down across this arm. This arm's going to catch a whole lot of light. This head, this side. This arm I want to accentuate this thigh. And then of course, because 360, I want to pick another source. I want this to be lit, right? So, but I'm going to use a different color back here as I swing around to the back, which I need to kind of stop pretty soon to do the next step, because I don't think we can do all these little light flickers. But this part is so soothing to me. This is the most fun part.
To say that you mentioned like not wanting to be braggadocious, but like the real truth is that for all of us who have questions, like the most important thing I feel like, and that you say this all the time, is to get out there and do it.
Yeah,
you just gotta, the biggest way to answer your questions is to keep painting and correct your mistakes as you go, and figure it out. This is not something you can perfect your technique on by watching. You got to get in the paint.
You got to fail.
Yeah.
Learn to love the fail. Man, it sounds so counter, and I'm always afraid when I talk about this it's going to come off like condescending or something. So please help me if I do. Like, I have learned to enjoy the fail. And what that means is when I try something new, right? When I don't know how to do something. I'll give you a great example. Okay, great example. Just today, I was talking to Michael Archer. Michael Archer builds many of our very awesome scenic tables that we take to conventions for people to play on. The Shatterpoint demo table that you see at all the conventions was built by Michael Archer. Wonderful feller, and just a fantastic hobbyist. And there's a project I want to work on, and it's based off something he did, and I was just like, I want to copy this, and I don't know how. So like the very first step was admitting, right, I have no damn clue how to do it. Like, I was just like, I have no damn clue. And I reached out and I was like, Archer, I need some help. Can you please explain how you did this? I really want to do this. I want to do something like this. And he started talking me through the process, and I was like, okay, I don't think I can do that part. Like, and part of it had to do with tools, access to tools that I don't have access to. And part of it was just a massive skill barrier that I don't have. And so he was able to be like, well, if you do it like this is an easier way and you can approach it. And I'm like, okay. And I totally expect that when I sit down to do this, I'm going to probably screw up I'm going to say a minimum of 3 times, right? I'm going to cut the stuff I want to cut. It's foam. It's obviously, I'm talking to a terrain builder, so it's like building terrain. It's a terrain thing I want to do. So it's cutting foam in a certain way, and I'm gonna screw it up, and then I'm gonna send the picture, and I'm gonna ask him. Like, and anybody can do this. You can find people to ask questions of. There's billions of people on Facebook, and there's millions of groups who are there to help you. There's so many people out there, so much information to help. So I'm going to send the picture to him and be like, what did I do wrong? And he's going to point out what I did wrong, and I'm going to do the next one. And I love that I'm going to screw up, right? I love that. I love that I'm going to be like, I have no idea how to do this, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to mess it up, and I'm going to learn how to do this, right? I always told my son growing up, you never learn by winning, kid. You never learn by winning. Because if you just do it, you don't know how you did it. You don't know what you did. You're just going to expect that outcome. Being ignorant is the only way to stop being ignorant. Yeah, absolutely, side reel. Like, absolutely. You got to be ignorant. And you got to ask questions. You got to just try. I caught myself these days in starting painting and then spending more time and getting effort into it than initially intended. It was fantastic and really satisfying. Oh, that's great to hear too, Zargle. I have that happen all the time. I'm just going to spend like a couple hours on this. And the next thing I know, I'm like, I guess I'm going all the way. Failing is super important. Super, super important. So I mix a little coal black and transparent brown. And I want to glaze out these darker areas of Chewbacca. Because this is thin, glazy, glazy, I can still see those lines I painted underneath, but it's just darkening up some areas. And that's all I'm going to do, is start darkening up those areas on him that need to be slightly darker. You don't want to paint, oh, I love painting blasters. What is it about blasters you don't want to paint? That's interesting. That's an interesting conversation. What is it about blasters that you don't want to paint? Because I personally enjoy them. So I'm curious what's the difference? Lazy glazy. Totally understand that. Totally understand that. Totally get that. Fair and reasonable. Paint them all as chartreuse. And a little bit darker on the side of his face. Remember, it's not a race. When you're painting miniatures just for fun, it's for you and no one else. Unless you're specifically entering a competition to win. Then you gotta impress the judge. Not very often you get a little country jamble out of me. Yeah, see, there you go. Paint them like a squirt gun. There's no rules in miniature painting. There you go. Glad I could help. That's what we're about here, kids. Right there. Inspiration, aspiration, education.
Chewbacca Nation.
Chewbacca Nation. Such a nice decision to have his satchel floating behind him to add movement to the miniature. So many true miniatures have a staple. Yeah, we really want, like, I mean, with all AMG stuff, like, we're all about action, storytelling, right? Pushing the limits of miniatures. You know, that doesn't mean we're not going to do stoic, standy characters, you know, but, you know, we're always looking at how do we push the art and design of miniatures? How do we take miniatures to that next step? How do we tell some cool, actiony, fun stories with our characters? You know, miniatures, we were just talking yesterday in one of our meetings about how, you know, we all care so much about what we do, and it's amazing to be working with so many people that just care so damn much about what we do. And you know, part of the thing we care about is pushing ourselves, growing artistically, you know, making just damn cool miniatures. Yeah, Kanan's super stoic, right? It just fits that character, right? He just looks so good. I mean, how can anyone look at that Kanan and just be like, that's not Kanan Jarrus? Like, it's like, that is, just looks so badass. Look at this Chewbacca. I got really bad news, kids. We're going to have to end in about 3 minutes.
It's true.
It's super true. I have a thing I have to go do. I can't be late. But hopefully, I'm using pure brown. I'm going over the highlight areas to add that warmy red. Just like that. So if you got any last minute questions, but I hope we provided some new take on how to paint Chewbacca that maybe you hadn't tried or hadn't seen. And so maybe you'll give it a go. Maybe you'll take the idea and like explore a new place with it, right? And then share it with us so we can see it, because we want to see. Do you know where we'd want to see it? On our socials.
It's true.
It's where we post all the latest news information. I'm going to paint right up to the end.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to do it right up to the end. I'm just going to do the outro while painting. So, just like where you post stuff, all the latest news information and announcements coming from a time. Man, this looks so good. Is on Twitter and or Instagram. You should post up your miniatures there. And you should be on the lookout for all the cool stuff that we're posting. And then remember, every Tuesday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Twitch. You know it, but not everybody knows it, so you need to share it. You can check us out here. We do Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. We paint, we talk, and we hang out, and hopefully give you something to work toward. Look at that.
Look at that strapping young man.
Oh, because he's got a strap. He's got 2 straps. He's got 2.
I try.
He's got 2 straps. He's a strapping young fur lad. All right, that does it for us today. We'll see you next week. We'll be back with Will Schick on Tuesday, unless he gets the crud from travel. So be ready to check us out there at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So until then, we'll see you later. Bye. Go be heroes.
Bye.